Frank, where are you? Look, there you go, my man. It's fun to have Frank here. Frank, this is really funny. Frank is literally the first agency I ever knew existed. He sent me a bill for billboards that I bought for Wine Library, and I said to him, what the fuck are you sending me the bill for? Because I actually thought people that sold advertising got it from the people they were selling, not the client. It was like a whole to-do. I'm glad I got my dad to actually pay you. It's fun to have him here. It's fun to be here, especially the discussion we had. 15 minutes turning into 90 minutes is a rarity. It comes out of the heart and the way I feel about you guys. The tone that I'm bringing to this talk is very simple. I massively care and could care less of you taking action on what I'm about to talk about, right? At the end of the day, you aren't my sister or brother or mom, and I can only care so much. At the same token, I am baffled at why people aren't recognizing what's happening in the world right now. And it comes out of fear, it comes out of insecurity, it comes out of who's making the judgment call, right? When 73-year-old Stan is making the judgment call and he loves print or outdoor or television or what have you, I'm empathetic that you're pandering to him being the king, judge, and the jury. It doesn't make it right. We're about to live through, and we are in the biggest culture shift that the human race has gone through since the invent of the printing press. Like please understand that in 5 to 6 years, 7 years, we've gone from internet dating being the most taboo, weird ass shit that you told nobody about, to every single person you know swipes to the left and the right. Right? Like, we are living through massive culture shifts. I was told as an early investor in Uber that nobody would get into a stranger's car. Like, there are people in this room that never thought they would buy anything on the internet that only buy Amazon Prime. This is real. And I don't even want to get into the macro 20-year dealer brands and cars going direct to consumer and having no need for the middleman infrastructure. That's not even where I'm going, because the truth is that will take a lot of time, and probably the far majority of the people in this room won't deal with that. But where do you think this is going? Like, what the hell do you think is happening? And so we are living through the biggest culture shift that we've ever lived through. This goes way beyond should you spend money on Facebook versus a billboard or a radio spot. This is how are human beings interacting with each other, and what are we really actually living through, and how fast is it actually happening? It's happening way faster than people think, and the thing that I'm most concerned about is that you're gonna lose off of silly things like your romantic point of view of how you think the world should be. You're gonna lose on how you got here. My friends, let me promise you one thing. What got you into this room today is not gonna get you to the next place. The game is changing constantly, and the attention is shifting aggressively. This is the remote control of our lives. This is it. If you don't understand everything that's going on in this device, which platforms, and let me remind you, over 50% of our time, humans' time, on a cell phone are in a social network. When you start understanding that, it's not as easy to just disregard social media as this little thing. And let me promise you something, for the people that don't know who I am, I could care less about social media. I could care less about social media. I could care less about technology. I was 19 years old before I ever really even used a computer. I'm not techie. I don't think it's cool. I don't give a shit about gadgets. I only care about one thing. There's only one thing in the world I care about, which is attention. I want to know where the attention is, and then I want to figure out how to storytell to it to make the outcome that I want to happen. Whether that was to sell wine, whether that's to turn you into a New York Jets fan, whether that's to raise money for my nonprofits, whatever my punch, my right hook, whatever I'm trying to accomplish is, I can't do anything until I have your attention. There's a lot, how many people here are vendors, B2B, marketing to dealerships? Raise your hands high, higher. So there's a lot, it makes it fun for me. I'm fascinated by B2B, right? I'm fascinated by B2B sales in a world where setting up at conferences, cold blasting emails, using LinkedIn to just spam people 24/7, 365. Like, I'm fascinated by B2B today in a world where I built a $150 million agency in 5-year period on the back of using the same stuff I'm pontificating about, including following, one more time, vendors, All the vendors in here, all the people in this room and the world that you're trying to get to live on some social network, and you can actually follow what they give a crap about, and instead of giving them a spam email in LinkedIn that they've never read ever, you can actually figure out that they care about the Atlanta Braves or cooking or coconut juice or running, actually engage in a conversation, you know, like a good salesperson, and create a gateway drug to a relationship that you then close business on. So to me, what's really remarkable, I would say General Electric, for you that don't know, I have a very large agency, you saw a clip in the video. I would say GE might be our happiest, best client. Because B2B, I'm in B2B now. I grew up in the wine business. That was B2C. You didn't know who your customer was. Everybody's your customer. It's expensive, it's hard. B2B is a piece of cake. Just straight up, like I don't know how you feel about that. I'm just telling you, it is. You actually know the name of the human beings that run the businesses that you could do business with. Like, you know, the ability to actually follow what they care about, market to them, get to them is remarkable. It's literally shooting fish in a barrel. Yet, everybody does the same tactic, which has no value and aren't able to close. So I think about a couple things. I think that on a clouds level, on a macro level, everybody in this room needs to start figuring out who the hell they are, and what they aren't, and they need to surround themselves with the things that they're not, right? Self-awareness is the quickest way to happiness, the quickest way to building a business. I know I'm a salesman, I know I'm a visionary, I know I'm not a CFO, I spend 0 times on the finances other than make sure nobody's ripping me off. You know, like, I think spending your time on what you know and you don't know. Now, what that doesn't mean is for, at the end of this talk, the 3 dealers that get inspired and go, you know what, yes, now I'm gonna give 24-year-old Kathy the reins on spending more on social. I wanna remind every business leader in here, how many people here own their business? Raise your hands. You have to be the best practitioner at your business. You have to know. I don't understand how, in a world where you would spend $50 or $100 or $500,000 on social or digital media, that you would allow yourself to be at the mercy of another human being, and by not knowing it at all, in a world where 5 to 10 hours of watching videos or reading or however it's, you know, fun for you to consume content will put you in a remarkable place of knowledge of what's actually going on. And there's a website that can help you in detail find all the little details. So I see a lot of you have pads if you want to write this down. It's spelled GOOGLE.com. Here's what you do with this site called Google. You type in things like, how do I run Instagram ads to sell cars? And this is remarkable, shit shows up. And I want to remind everybody, YouTube is the #2 search engine in the world, and as somebody who can't read for shit, YouTube would be great for me to consume content, audiobooks, I don't care, but I promise you, if I could get anything out of this keynote today, I would get the leaders to not pass the buck to this future world that you don't know and you didn't grow up with. You didn't grow up driving, you figured it out, right? To pass that buck and not put in, and I'm gonna say it one more time, 10 hours. 10 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours, 13 hours of homework to understand what's happening on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube, and understand what's happening there and searching very detailed things. Not you read about a juice cleanse and how does that work to you when you're trying to sell a $30,000 item? No, search selling cars through, I mean, this is just real. There are dealers, and I've spoken on the dealer circuit quite a bit over the last 4 or 5 years. Toyota is a very large client. I understand tier 1, 2, 3 now. I've become dangerous. I know what bulk data is, shit. I know this world. And so what scares me is how utterly quickly, with 0 days of history, and you 3rd generation dealer, how quickly I would fuck your world up if I bought a dealership in your town. Not because I'm so special, but because you're wasting money. You're just throwing money away, and I just wouldn't, and that would play itself out over time. And that's why I've been successful in every business that I've run and every business that I impact. It's just trading attention. If you're overpaying for attention and I'm stealing attention, I will catch up to you no matter where I start. This is the history of the game of business. This is what happens. And if you're actually just fascinated by marketing the way I am, I implore you back to Google, go read articles and books however you roll, on what happened in the late 40s and early 50s when we transitioned from a primary radio society to a primary television society. We are in the full swings. We're in it now. This is not coming. We are in it of transforming from a full television society to a full mobile consumption society. And that's why the stakes are so high. And this will happen quickly. Like, how many people here are retiring in the next 7 years? And I don't mean you're gonna crush it for the next 7 years and go buy an island. I mean, you're old and you're finished. 7 years, raise your hand, show me. 1, 2, 1, no, that was a selfie. 1. 1, enjoy it, good work. For the rest of you, I want to implore you, if you think there's a lot of tech things going on right now, wait till you see 7 years from now. Wait till the platform shift, right? In 2000, 2001, the reason I was able to build a big business, and this is great to recall Frank again, I've said this a couple times lately, I shouldn't have done the billboards or the print or the radio or television, not because it was really a bad price, because in that day, it was a good price, it was fine, I was fine with the price of it. It was that Google AdWords was so underpriced. Like, I'm embarrassed when I tell my $3 to $60 million business story. It should have been 3 to 150 million, because I should have taken every one of those dollars and continued to buy more 5-cent clicks on the word Cabernet, Merlot, Bordeaux, Chardonnay, but I was doing a full mix. I didn't realize I hadn't lived or had the experience yet to have that moment in time when you have the best hand in poker and you're supposed to go all in. I didn't know. I know today. Right now, my friends, as I tell you, if I bought a car dealership, this is just one man's point of view, that I would spend 95% of my marketing budget on Facebook ads and Facebook videos and influencer marketing. 95. Search is phenomenal. I like search. I like search. Shit, I like drive time radio. I think iHeartRadio live read is actually a very good buy. It's one of my favorite things. It's just that Facebook is so ungodly underpriced. The data is so ridiculously clean and correct. And the $5 to $13 CPMs that you'll pay today to get into somebody's feed that's it within a half-mile radius of your dealership when they're in consideration to buy a sedan, that's gonna cost $50 and $80 in 3 to 4 years, the same way. How many people here have been doing search for their company for more than 12 years? Raise your hand, anybody? There's one back there, 2, right? So you remember the prices, they're different now. That's all that's gonna happen in Facebook. And the one thing with Facebook, unlike Google with long tail and you can continue to extend it, I just wanna remind people, and this depends on how good you are at basic economics called supply and demand. Unlike car becomes this model, becomes this year, unlike wine, goes from wine to Cabernet to Silver Oak Cabernet to 2001 Silver Oak Cabernet, right? There is only one news feed on Facebook. And you are competing for that attention with not every dealership, with everybody in the world. And this marketplace, because that's what it is, unlike digital pre-rolls on websites or car-centric websites or billboards or print or television or radio where they create a floor of pricing for their business, this is a marketplace, supply and demand. And it is going to be where everybody's attention is, because by the way, it already is. It already is. I love how I speak to, especially my favorite is like, let's call it the cliche 44-year-old marketing executive who argues with me about this, and then her or his entire world outside of work, their friend network and that age group lives on the phone. My highest conversions right now and best case studies in Facebook is targeting 50 to 70-year-olds on Facebook. Because here's the thing you don't know about 50 to 70-year-olds when they're on Facebook, they're the best. They go real slow. And so they're just consuming it. This is common sense. This is real. And so you may not like that the world's going more digital. You may not like that your child or grandson are always on the iPad and live in it. You may not like that when you go to a restaurant, that couple's sitting there and they're both on the phone the entire time, but I do. I believe your grandchild and your children are gonna live in a digital world, and I think learning this stuff is a good idea. When I go and see a couple both sitting there for 3 hours, both on the phone, I remember that same couple 20 years ago. They both sat in front of each other and didn't say a fucking word to each other.